else? Thank you, Miles. So yes, this meeting is now being recorded. And for those, if you do not want to be recorded, don't say anything. I'm sorry. I have to be a little bit lighthearted. I'm going to see if I can get to see all the people that are here so I don't miss somebody. Okay. So Debbie, we have you, Frosty, Gary, Heidi, Kim, Linda, Drach. Good to have you with us, and Richard. Okay, well, I'm going to move forward. Welcome to the South Beaverton NAC. I'm thankful that you're all able to come, and hopefully you will learn a lot from those things that are presented and also understand what's going on in the city. We have a special event today because we will be voting at the end for our board members and also for anyone who wants to join the board of the South Beaverton NAC. So we will be discussing that later on at about 7:30ish. So welcome. I'm actually calling in from Texas. I don't have a camera, so you'll be relieved not to have to see my face. So I'm pretty sure you will enjoy that. So let's move forward. And David, I'd like to hand it over to you. Thank you, David Saunders is our Beaverton police officer who supports our NAC. So I think this is your second time, isn't it, David?
It is, yeah. And for those that weren't here last month, yeah, my name's Dave Sanders. I'm one of the newest members of the Beaverton Police. I used to work for the Portland Police Bureau before that for 14 years and just made the switch over at the beginning of the year. So it's been a joy to be over here. It's a night and day difference. Felt like I needed a little bit of change. Things are pretty rough over there. But it's been awesome being over here in Beaverton, just kind of figuring it out. And I'm out on patrol in the streets. I usually work the south end of Beaverton, District 5. So I'm getting to know this area a bit more. Yeah, I'd love to know what your concerns are. If you guys want certain topics covered, please let Mike know or one of the other members get that information to me, email me directly, and I'd love to present on topics that are relevant that you guys have an interest in. So definitely give me some feedback on how I can better inform you guys on what's going on. One thing I have been taking a lot of reports on lately is a lot of fraud. It's typically targeting the elderly. Usually it's started with a phone call or an email. And a lot of times what happens is the person on the other end kind of disguises themselves as somebody from Amazon or a big company. And from what I'm told, they're very believable. Typically they'll talk the victim into going to the store and buying a gift card and giving them the code on the gift card. And it seems like it shouldn't work, but the victims that report this say it's very believable, and the people they're talking to seem very trustworthy and knowledgeable. So somehow these people get enough information to lead them on to make them believe that they're legitimate. So I just want that stated, just so everyone can kind of use caution. As time goes on, we're going to see more and more of this financial fraud. So just be aware, never give out your personal information, never, ever buy a gift card. That's never a legitimate phone call that you'll be getting. So I won't go into detail more on that, but definitely let friends know too. If you know of folks, like I said, they target typically the elderly. So maybe spread the word, have people use an incredible amount of discretion during this time. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. A lot of traffic crashes too, as we enter the wet season, as the season's changing. Just give yourself more time and use more caution on the streets. Lots and lots of crashes happening right now. So goes without saying, probably. Are there any specific questions anybody has in regards to public safety, policing, anything at all. Be happy to answer any.
Debbie, I know you've asked this several times. I'll leave it over to you to ask it. Debbie Stewart.
I don't have anything right off the top of my head.
Oh, I know you asked a couple of weeks about getting the police reports and why we don't have them. They're in some of the newspapers, and I know.
Oh,
that,
they've been.
Jimmy Ho.
Yeah, it was between Officer Ho and Miles, and they've been fine.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know if that had been closed, but thank you.
Yeah, it was. They restarted, and then they weren't in there for a while, and I sent an email to Officer Ho, and now they've been back since earlier, like July, August. So I check every week. So
Cool.
I guess the only other thing that I would like, do you encourage people, like, for suspicious, on Nextdoor, people will say, oh, there was this vehicle doing this or doing that. You encourage people to call the non-emergency number for things like that, or just wait until something happens and then report it?
No, if you are kind of on the fence whether to call, I would always say call. That's what we're here for. And it's up to the dispatcher. They'll triage the call to determine if it should be dispatched to a patrol officer. But kind of what happens on the lower level priority, not as urgent matters, is it's set up in our police CAD system on our computer, and it's given a priority number. And for the lower priority calls, they just sit until we're free. But often those type of suspicious calls will be entered in as kind of sometimes information for the district officer, so that we can be aware of what's going on. So sometimes it doesn't take anything out of, any time out of our day, but it's good for us to at least be aware of. If you see, a car frequenting your block over and over without any business being there, just kind of circling the block or whatever it is, feel free to let us know. And we'd be happy to follow up on those. So like I always say, if you're kind of on the fence, where should I call? Should I not? Just call. Yeah.
Are you referencing the non-emergency number or the 911 number?
Well, if it's not an emergency, just call the non-emergency and that'll get channeled to us the same way.
Is there someone that actually answers the non-emergency number, or is it a recording?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I've never called it here in Washington County.
Oh no, somebody always answers.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the only other thing is graffiti. From what I understand, that's something that you guys want reported in terms of where it is and that kind of thing, just so that you can keep track of what it is. And so.
Yeah, it's good for us to be aware of. Yeah, if it's on private property, for sure, report that. If it's on your property or whatnot, let us know. If it's on public property, you can just let us know, and maybe it's already been reported, maybe it's not, but it's good for us to be aware of that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And Officer Sanders, thank you very much. Is anyone else have any other questions for Officer Sanders before we let him move on? Again, thank you very much and welcome. We thank you for serving us in the community, but we also thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege.
I haven't seen Jon Wangen. Is he on? Not yet. Okay, so we'll move on to the next then. Miles, it's yours.
Okay, have one event update to share with you, and that's the free leaf drops that we have going on kind of across the city. The leaf disposal events. We collect canned food at those events, but they are free. This year, because of COVID, we can't help you unload. So you've got to be able to unload they can be bagged or unbagged. You have to be able to unload them yourself. And the drop-off hours are from 8 to 4. And there's a list on the website. If you go to beavertonoregon.gov/leaf disposal, it'll give you the different places. I think the one like closest to you would be either Highland Park Middle School or the 160th storage facility, which is on Shaw Street. So 160th and TV Highway, basically. Really important to get the leaves off the ground and off the sewer grates. They cause localized flooding when they back up, and then it also deteriorates the infrastructure faster to have sitting water on it. And so we like to get it moving into the system and out of the way. So please rake those up. And then we do have, find it again, a Halloween event coming up on Saturday, October 23rd. So this Saturday, it's a silly walk and dance party for the younger kids at Conestoga Aquatic and Recreation Center from 4 to 6:30 p.m.
Wait, that already happened.
Oh, that did. I'm sorry. The Spooky Trail Walk at
There you
Fir
go.
Grove Park is
Yeah.
this Saturday from 4 to 7. That's for a little bit older, but it is rated PG, so it's not too scary. Thanks, Lisa.
Sure. We went to it, the one at Conestoga.
I figured you did.
Yeah,
Lisa knows all that stuff.
I do. I do.
Yeah, the other updates I had for the month are too old. They're things that have already happened. So that's all I have for right now.
I did have a quick question. Well, it's probably not that quick, but I guess I was wondering if you can just help to give us like a, I don't know, layman's terms understanding of like ARPA funding and how and if and when like we're gonna see how that affects the city. I went to city council and I listened to Jen, right, our new city manager, talk through her presentation, but it's like a lot of information. And I guess like my thing is trying to understand like, well, how is this going to affect, families, like people, like when are we going to see that, or how are we going to see that?
Yeah,
So-
I guess.
Miles, can I just interrupt just for a second? So Lisa, I don't know what ARCA
Oh, sorry.
is, so
It's-
if you could explain it, that would help me
yeah,
understand.
sorry.
what the
It's
response
the
is.
American Rescue Plan, which was passed, by Congress in March. So it was like Biden's big COVID relief bill, right? And there's a lot of funding going to like localities with this bill. So we are getting, I don't remember the dollars, maybe Miles knows, but I mean, millions, I think, right? So I'm just 24 million. Yeah. And maybe part of it is that, this is going to make it so that we won't see an interruption to like services that we might have seen interruptions to if we didn't have the funds, because, it's making up for like lost revenue during the pandemic. Like maybe that's what I'm not thinking, or, what I'm not realizing, but I'm just, wondering.
Yeah, that is part of what I believe council will do with the funding, because there was a loss in revenue for the city due to COVID. I don't believe the entire amount is accounted for in doing that. So it does two things. It's continuity of services, and you also don't pay the full legal allowed tax rate in the city. It's actually lower than we're legally allowed to tax. And so to keep that millage rate low, so your taxes won't go up because of COVID to make up the difference. Because part of the Rescue Plan Act will be backfill. And then there is a ton of ideas on what to do with the money, and council really has to sit down and hash it out. That's why if you look at the website, there's not very much information out on it yet. I think Jenny's presentation was probably the most informative that I've seen on it. So more will be coming, and I'm pretty sure that city council will be looking for public input into the whole process as well. They like to hear what like to say.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, so what you're saying is I should contact the city councilors and tell them what I want to see.
Yeah.
Even if they don't ask for my comment, I will give it.
They are your elected representatives, and
Exactly.
contacting them is your right and your option.
Well, Well, and they're also great. I mean, I like them.
Miles, is the city manager available to come to the NACs? Because I remember, I think in the BCCI meeting, they mentioned that.
Not yet. She is a very busy person.
Catching up with everything now.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's something that'll happen in the future or not.
Maybe the first of the year.
I just don't know.
Mhm.
They've got a lot to unpack with the new charter and a very long list of things that council wants to get working on. Yeah, it's a lot. So I have no idea, Frosty.
Okay, thank you, Miles. Is there any other questions before we move on? Thank you for the update. Thank you for everyone else's participation.
Yeah, thank you, Miles.
Okay, next then will be Gary for BCCI and Frosty as our alternative for anything that you have for us.
You're muted, Gary.
Gary,
Bear
we
with
can't.
me.
There
Oh,
we
there you
go.
are. That's better. Thank you.
Okay, all right. BCCI, they've been working on recruitments for the various committees, and that is winding down. I believe the nominations or the letters of interest are closed at this point. The one thing that probably stuck with me the most is there's a notion of trying to link the NACs with the BCCI more closely, so that it's more of a logical stepping stone to get something from the NAC up into the BCCI. That I don't know how much of a firm proposal that is, but that is definitely a little different approach than what I've perceived in the past. The traffic calming committee is the traffic committee is holding hearings on their traffic calming process. There was a really unusual vote strategy for LIDs on safety projects. That has been partially reversed, and the remainder, the part about how do you count a no vote, is out in the public hearing arena now. So that whole traffic calming issue is out there in process, and it's moving forward. Another major activity going on is, as I hope folks have been following, is the Housing Options Project. That's the one that Rob Zeller has made presentations on before. The draft preferred alternative has been presented to both Planning Commission and City Council, and they are well worth watching. The council was October 12th, and the Planning Commission work session was October 5th. Basically, the House Bill 2001 requires all cities in the state to allow multifamily zoning in all residential zones, which is another way of saying there is no single family only zoning remaining that would be legal. It's all got to allow for more than one unit. Basically, there are three options out there for Beaverton as the staff works through this. Residential mix A is the multifamily zone, previous R2 zoning. Residential mix B is the R4 and R5 zoning. That's 4,000 square foot and 5,000 square foot lots. And residential mix C is the R7, R10 zones. That's a quick summary of the rezoning of the land in the city by zoning district. Based on that, There are lot size strategies that allow 3 different housing options or housing types. Excuse me. Basically duplexes, triplexes, and quadruplexes, and those go by a variety of names. But a triplex, 3 or more, obviously, quadruplex, 4 or more. And there are a number of menu options for how to develop the site and still incorporate some requirements for buffering of the adjacent residential area, presuming that it's developed out. I encourage you to look at that because it's going to be out in the public hearings here pretty soon. And if you go to the city website, beavertonoregon.gov/options, I believe is the term, either options or housing options. It will lay out that draft preferred alternative. Also affected as a part of this will be the setbacks, structural setbacks from property lines and other structures, and parking, which is always something that gets people's attention. Having said that, I would just encourage you to do a heads up, kind of keep this in the back of your mind. It's going to be going through going through hearings pretty soon. I don't have a specific date for that. And if you live in land that's zoned for single family, you're going to be rezoned, I guess would be the way I would say it. I don't mean that as a threat. That's just kind of the way the housing options program is set up. That's about all I have at this point. If there are questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them. And if not, I'm happy to have your attention. Thanks.
I have one addition, Gary.
Yeah, I can't hear.
I have one addition, Gary. I
Yeah.
actually missed the meeting because I was in ICU, but on the August one, we did pass a couple of grants. I'm on the grant committee for the NACs, and
I'm sorry, you're right.
Yeah, on November 14th, we've already approved it, but I want to let you know that the Highland NAC is having a Murmuring Pines tree planting on the 14th of Sunday, the 14th of November from 1 to 4:30. So one of the things that our NAC should probably be looking at, especially around the first of the year, is what do we want to do with our grant money and for 2022. And I do also, Gary, I thought I remembered in August us talking about the fact that a non-vote would not be considered a no vote going forward. But maybe that needs to be the current proposal. Yeah, maybe that needs, since I missed September's, I probably missed that, but that was the proposal, which was significantly different than what has happened in the past, where a non-vote was a no vote, which meant the vast majority of any traffic calming proposals by the neighborhoods was in essence easily defeated, easierly defeated. But
yeah, that's correct. And there were some other things in there, but the voting structure was pretty much the majority of the issue. There are some others that they're cleaning up just to square away their ordinances.
Yeah. But thanks.
Thank you.
The only other thing that I recall, Gary, is Councilor Tivnon announced that the book corner property that had been proposed to be sold and the Friends of the Library book corner was going to be relocated to inside the main library building, that council, and basically that property is not going to be sold and it will remain the book corner house on that property across the street from City Hall. So
yes, You're right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, both Frosty and Gary. Is there any other questions for BCCI before we move on?
And Debbie.
Okay. Oh, sorry, yes, I forgot. Debbie, you're BCCI as well, aren't you? At large, but thank you. Thank you for your comments. Okay. So Kim, thank you very much for attending, and we welcome you to our NAC, and you're going to give us an update on measure 34308. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. And Miles and Mike have already heard the spiel, so they'll make sure that I'm appropriately reporting on this, but we just wanted to get out in front of everyone. In fact, you probably actually have your voters pamphlet in the mail with your ballot measure as well, but we are going to be listed in that, and that's for proposed general obligation bonds, $122 million worth for emergency services. And so those bonds, the proceeds from those bonds would go towards replacing response vehicles like engines, trucks, command rigs, medic units as they reach their end of life. And then it will fund station updates to 10 out of 29 of our fire stations. And those updates could include seismic upgrades, security feature additions, expansions, living quarter modifications, because we still have fire stations that are so antiquated to a point where they only actually have like one bunk room. And so you don't have the gender separation or gender neutral type of accommodations. It will rebuild our King City Fire Station in its same location. We did determine that was the most feasible thing and least expensive thing to do too. That station was built in 1972. It will relocate our Aloha Fire Station. So that fire station right now is at 209th and Blanton. And it is basically right along the boundary of where Hillsborough Fire is now going to have jurisdiction because of South Hillsborough. And then, you know, on the east side of 209th is TVF&R. So we actually have property at 185th and Pheasant. And then Hillsborough Fire will be building a fire station in that South Hillsborough area. So it won't create a gap in response areas or anything like that. It's just going to push us a little bit further east where we could actually improve on our response areas. And so, and then it will also help fund the first phase of safety upgrades to our training center. And that's where all of our firefighters go for fire suppression training, hazmat training, technical rescue training, emergency medical skills training, where they constantly have to, I mean, we have hundreds and hundreds of hours every year that we have to do training on. And so it's like one big, huge playground out there, but it's in need of some updates too. And then it will also purchase land for future fire stations in areas where we anticipate growth to occur. And that's pretty common to do. And I'll use Hillsborough Fire as an example, but like in South Hillsborough, before all of that area was developed during the early planning stages, they plotted a land in there for a fire station. So they purchased that land ahead of time versus now where land out there is very expensive, obviously, now that it's all being developed. So as far as cost goes, and again, you'll see this in the voters pamphlet. So it's not, unlike a local option levy where you can come in and do either a replacement or a renewal. The bonds don't work that way, but with this bond, we have an existing general obligation bond that was passed by voters back in 2006. And we've been able to refinance that and save $3.9 million. Just like your mortgage, we took advantage of opportunities where we could refinance at a much lower interest rate, which also means that we have declining debt now. So we're actually at that 15-year mark, even though we had bonds that were issued beyond 2006 which would be paid off over the longer period of time. And so with this bond, it will come in at the same rate as that other bond. So right now it's 14 cents per thousand assessed value. And so with this bond, if this measure passes, it will also be 14 cents per thousand. So there won't be an increase in your property taxes. If this wasn't to pass, then all of that stuff that I just mentioned would be tabled. And then you will gradually over time start seeing your property taxes decline from that 14 cents. It may drop 3 or 4 cents a year, and it will gradually go down as the declining debt occurs with those previous general obligation bonds that happened, that we were issued back in 2006, or the ballot was in 2006, and then they've been issued between 2006 and now. So, and that pretty much covers it. So if anyone has any questions about the bond, and then I was just going to do a little fire prevention safety message too. So I'll let the wheels turn on the bond thing, and then, but we do want to remind folks we're getting into the cold season, and some of the most common calls that we're running on right now. In fact, we've got our crews on a chimney fire. So anything that has to do with your fireplace, making sure that it's in working order, that it's clean, that the flue's open and working, because there's also that risk of the carbon monoxide poisoning if that is closed and your house gets filled and charged with smoke. Space heaters, make sure they have not only that tip feature in them to where they'll turn off if they tip over, but make sure that all combustibles within 3 feet are spread away from it. You know, just make sure that it's in a good spot that's clear of any combustibles. And then of course, turn it off when you go to bed, and turn it off when you leave your house. And that's about all I can think of right now. So let me know if you have any questions on the bond or anything about TVF&R. I'm happy to help answer.
I have one comment and question. I went through the CERT program about 3 or 4 years ago and was amazed. And you had a great training facility out in Southeast Sherwood. But I was also very surprised at your geography you cover, and with the expansion of a number of the homes that are being built, and West Side, Hillside High School, and all the houses that are being built out there. Is that your jurisdiction as well?
Are you talking about Mountainside?
Mountainside, thank you. Yeah, sorry.
Yes, that is actually all of our area out there. So that entire South Cooper Mountain area and Riverside Terrace and all of that area is within our
There's
service
literally
area.
Thousands of new homes out there.
Yes, I drive that pretty regularly, and it's pretty impressive. I've lived out here most all my life, and it's pretty amazing.
Maybe you could describe the geography that TVF&R covers, because it's very impressive.
Yeah, so we're actually just under 400 square miles total, and we serve 11 cities and parts of 4 counties, and that's a real small chunk of Multnomah County up towards the Skyline area. And then you head to the west over to North Plains. So we've got that whole area, and then quite a bit of Washington County. And then of course we have Beaverton and Tigard, and then you swoop all the way down into the Westland area in Wilsonville, over to Newburgh, and then back up through the Shoals Midway area. And that's where I say we hug Hillsborough, because our service area literally goes right around them, and they're a donut hole within ours, because they have their own municipal fire department, as most of you all know. And so, yeah, it's a rather large area, but it's a good, strong system of response because of the fact that we are a compilation of just mergers and annexations that date back to long before even TVF&R was created. And it was smaller municipal and rural fire protection districts that decided that they would benefit, by merging together, whether it's, from the economies of scale, the strengthened regional response, things like that.
And will you be taking over the ambulance duties? I've been hearing some rumors about that with the Metro, is it Metro One or?
Metro West? No, so they carry the contract in Washington County, and we want to keep it that way. What we do in Washington County, though, is when they get to what they call a level 0, which means that they don't have a single ambulance available, we actually do supplement them with our own medic units. So we do have some medic units out there that can do transports, but they have first right to all 911 medical calls and doing transports. In Clackamas County, it's AMR. And so somewhat similar, it's a little bit different of a written contract, but we also supplement the AMR system too. So we've got some medic units down there. And then in Yamhill, in the Newburgh area and all of Yamhill, we actually have the ASA, the ambulance service agreement down there. So we actually do all the transports in that part of our service district.
Well, we're lucky to have Station 66, so thank you.
It's a good station. Yes, some good people run out. I mean, I love all of our people, but but yeah, that is one of the stations that I cover for my regional area. Of course, I cover the whole Beaverton area as part of my job, but yes, we are glad to be there and very, very glad that we were there for you and that you are doing really well.
Yeah, thanks much.
Thanks, Frosty.
Thank you. If no one else has any other questions, I just had one, Kim. So when these bond measures come out, do they forecast so many years out to cover the bond? And that's where they get the amount that they're trying to gain from the bond measure, or how does that process work?
So what they're doing is they're evaluating, it's quite the process. And our CFO is, thank goodness, he is amazing, and knows bonds better than any of us do. But a lot of what they're doing in our, a lot of our, we've got data analysts and whatnot, they're trying to look and see like, what is it, what are some of the stations that need to get these upgrades done that makes sense? I mean, nothing that's going to be over the top or a waste of money or anything like that. I mean, we've got some issues, obviously even with seismic upgrades and stuff like that. So they're going to try and determine how much all of that's going to cost. And then, and even with our training center, I mean, this is just going to be like the first phase of improvements to the training center. The training center, as several of you have been out there, I mean, it's a huge area of land, and there's no way that we can afford to just completely remodel and fix up that entire property. And so we've got to work it out and biting it off in chunks. I mean, it's similar to like the county or city and their road projects. It's like they do a section at a time based on what they can afford, but also that's not going to create a huge increased cost to taxpayers either. And so they basically scrub the numbers to figure out what is it that we really need to get done now. So it's also not going to be a long-term maintenance cost that's going to cost more than actually fixing it now. Just like with your home or anything else. I mean, it's just this maintenance piece of it. And so they're the ones, we have to leave it up to those experts, but they're the ones that crunch those numbers to figure it out. And then the bonds are issued in increments. So it's not like we're going to get if the bond passes, we're not going to get $122 million, right? And a check and then say, here you go. It's going to be in increments. And then those bonds, as they roll out, as we have projects assigned to them with specific amounts, they tend to last for about 15 years is what the payoff date is on a bond. Unless, like in our case with the last ones, we were able to take advantage of the lower interest rates and refinance and save the $3.9 million. And we'll continue to always look at that and look at opportunities to do that, to reduce that debt down as quickly as possible too. Does that answer the question, Mike?
Yeah, the reason for it, I was asking it is so that if you're planning out 15 years, so we're not likely to see another bond measure for another 15 years, unless you pay it off early, like the one you've done previously, and then you can come back early.
Yes, that's correct. And I don't anticipate, I mean, obviously I can't predict what could happen 10 years from now or 15 years from now. And like you said, we could very well pay it off, but I think that they did forecast it out to take the whole 15 years, just like the last round from 2006 until now. That was over the course of 15 years that we were able to do those projects. And so with this one, it'll be kind of that same status. And then we'll have to revisit it again. I mean, it's not going to be uncommon, with Measure 50 in place. I mean, it's not going to be uncommon for us. Every 5 years, we have to go out for the local option levy. When we do have a retiring bond, it is very likely that we'll have to come out with another one, because it is one of those things where we have continually aging equipment or, a need to build more fire stations, especially with growth or things like that. So it is possible. I can't guarantee whether it will happen or not, but I'm going to assume it's not like we can all of a sudden, everything's going to be never going to have to get replaced or maintained, or I wish it was that way.
No, I appreciate it. It was just me trying to understand. We hear about these bonds all the time, but there's a whole bunch of mechanics that go behind them that try to respect the city of Beaverton that have to pay for it all. So I appreciate that. I just wanted to understand a little bit more about it, but thank you for explaining it.
Yeah, they're very confusing, and you almost have to take a bond 101 class, because I pretty much had to, but yeah, so yeah.
All right, well, thank you thank you very much indeed. I do appreciate you coming, and thank you for sharing that with us. If there's no more questions, we will move on to the next piece of our business. Thank you. So, Richard, we're at the stage where the other part of the main focus of this meeting is that we need to vote for board members. Every year we have the opportunity to re-elect the chair, the vice chair, recorder, treasurer, BCCI reps, and we're now in that position. I'm going to thank you, Richard, for sending me on all of the Roberts rules. I appreciate that. I've read them through several times, but I know I'm always going to mess something up because I'm never that great at this thing. So thank you for helping me, Richard. Most of you know that I've already contacted you with regards to the positions and whether you would like to stay in them to try and speed up this process. We have one person. I'm going to be open and upfront at the moment. The treasurer, Heidi, has requested that she is able to retire from that position. She's been doing it for 4 years, and she's got tired of telling us exactly the same amount for the last 4 years. So she said, yeah, maybe someone else wants that ability. So she's asked if she can retire. So the way that this process has worked, you can self-nominate yourself. Oh, Jon, you've just joined us. Jon,
yeah.
Before we do our session, would you like to do your piece? That will keep it in order, and then we'll move on to our voting.
Yeah, I can do that. I just want to apologize. Having some staffing issues at a site and working through some staff concerns with the new vaccine mandate that we're rolling out. So talking through hard feelings.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. THBRD is hiring. We have a lot of part-time positions available that we're looking for. Next thing is Talking Walls. THBRD, we're collaborating with Color Outside the Lines and Five Oaks Museum. And we have invited some Latinx artists and youth to participate in the series of murals. They're going to be outside the Tualatin Hills Aquatic Center. And they're being started this Saturday, the 23rd. I think they've been going on, and I think they hopefully will be finished by then. We have some one-day volunteer opportunities. Looking for some help doing some community garden work parties and restoring some natural areas. Halloween activities. We just wrapped up an event at Conestoga. And then we have another one this Saturday, the 23rd from 4 to 7 at the Halloween Spooky Trail Walk at Fir Grove Park. And that is a registration class. 5th grade and middle school and high school and adult basketball leagues are up and open for registration. And you sign up online. The LC Stir Center has reopened and willing to welcome the community back to that center. Maintenance updates. Staff are busy replacing athletic field lights at HMT and Sunset Sports Complex. And they're working on a drainage project at Commonwealth Lake Park near the playground to help reduce some flooding there. And that's it I have for THPRD updates. Lisa, I did get that update for you. The state guidance is 10 to 1 for that preschool age.
Yeah, Debbie sent me something on that too, so that makes sense. And I actually learned after our meeting that they have someone comes, I guess she's not there when it starts, but she comes, another teacher comes like in the middle, another aide, and apparently my son loves her, so that's
good.
Miss Ellie.
Miss Ellie, yes.
Yeah, he talks about her all the time.
Good. I haven't got to meet Ellie yet, but
yeah. No, so that's going well, so thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else have any questions for Jon?
I have a question for Jon. Do you have an update on the Conestoga pool? It's scheduled to reopen in December?
Yeah, I've been all over that project. It's been a fun one. Sarcastic. I think right now we're looking probably handing it over to us end of January, so early mid-February right now is the current opening. I believe we have half the lights that need to be installed. I think we're still waiting for the overhead lights to come. Right now, those shipments are still scheduled to arrive on time. But us and the contractors, until they're actually with us, we're nervous. And I think the slide is still set to be on time. So it was just what we ran into was the drainage pipes. Once we undug everything, were all corroded and bad and needed to go. So having to readjust to get those repaired. But yeah, that just caused the delay.
Thank you. Any other questions for Jon? Thank you very much for coming, Jon. I appreciate you spending your time this evening.
Of course.
Okay, no more questions, and thank you. Thank you much. We'll move back on to the voting for board positions. Thank you, Jon. Okay, so going back as we left off, Heidi is going to be retiring, so that position comes open. Again, the position for anyone who wants to become a board member, we can either make self-nominations, someone else can nominate them. So we can process through that. If I do them one at a time, and again, Richard, if you can keep me open and honest with regards to that. If we start on the first one for the chair position, are there any nominations or self-nominations for the South Beaverton chair position?
Well, I guess you didn't email yourself and ask you if you wanted to be chair again, but I would like you to be chair again, Mike. I nominate you.
Thank you for that nomination. Does anyone else want to look at taking over the chair position? And I will accept the nomination for one more year.
I second the nomination.
Okay. Well, thank you. Any other comments or questions before we move forward? Okay. Now, if I believe the notes, if we are in agreement with regards to the nomination for chair as being myself, if there are no other objections, would we like to adopt this motion to accept Mike Alner as the chair for another year of South Beaverton NAC? Any objections? Okay. So hearing no objections, we would like to vote on that. So if I can see a thumbs up, okay. Thank you very much. I will note so that Mike Alner has been nominated back to the chair for another year.
And I'm taking, like the same format of notes on this as I did last year.
Thank you. I appreciate that because it's got to be recorded.
Now, question, Mike, any member of South Beaverton NAC can vote, correct?
Miles, can I clarify that? I thought you had to be a board member.
No, not at the annual meeting.
Okay, fine.
Anybody in the NAC.
So
Linda, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Linda's, that's why I was going to mention that.
No, I thank you for clearing that because I wasn't sure. I was going to ask Miles and I forgot.
Yeah.
So Linda, did you have a vote on that, whether or not I should be nominated for the chair of the South Beaverton?
You even know who Mike is.
I'll vote yes.
I'm pleased I didn't put my picture up. Otherwise, you may change your mind. But
she didn't self-nominate herself either, so, and she didn't have any objections. So
you can tell he's not. You can tell he's not from Alabama.
No, a little bit further west, east, depending which way around you go.
East, yeah. Northeast.
Okay, thank you. So nominations for the vice chair. Is anyone interested in taking on
I'll
the position of vice chair.
self-nominate myself again to do it again, since I didn't have to
Okay.
do anything last time.
I second
Oh,
that.
well. All right, so nominated, self-nominated by Richard, seconded by Frosty. Again, are there any objections to the nomination that Richard should become the vice chair? If I hear no objections, can I see a show of hands for those who wish to nominate Richard as the vice chair? Gary, are you? Okay, I'm not pushing, but thank you. So that is unanimous.
No, you're fine. I can't see you, so I'm not sure what you're doing.
Oh, no, yes, my camera's broken, so I can't.
That's okay.
So we have Richard has been nominated as vice chair. That motion is carried. Thank you. The next on my agenda is for a recorder. I would like to nominate Lisa as the recorder. I know that she has said that she would like to continue.
Second.
Is there Frosty's the nomination for having Lisa? If there are any objections, please speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, as there are no objections, I'd like to bring this forward as if we can vote on Lisa being continuing to be the recorder for another year for the South Beaverton NAC. All those in favor, please show with a raised hand. Okay, thank you. So Lisa, you've got that responsibility again, so keep writing.
Yes. I was like furiously typing. Thank you, everyone.
Right, so we now have an open position, as I mentioned earlier, for the treasurer. There was a nomination for Deborah Stewart to become the treasurer. Debbie, would you like to accept that nomination?
Sure.
For the treasurer, becoming the
Sure.
treasurer for the South B. Sure, okay, thank you. Okay. Anyone like to second that motion?
Second.
Sorry, that was Richard. Okay.
Gary.
It was Gary. It was Gary.
Oh, that was Gary. Sorry. Are there any objections? Are there any objections for nominating Deborah Stewart as the treasurer? Okay, as there are no objections, I would like to adopt the motion that Debbie Stewart will become our new treasurer for the South Beaverton NAC. All those in favor, please show with a raise of hand. Okay, thank you. That is unanimous. Thank you, Deborah. And Heidi, if you will be able to spend some time, if you set it up directly with Debbie, do I need to be there as well as a countersigner?
I'm not sure. We'll have to look into that. Like I have a
Okay.
box that I inherited from the previous treasurer that has like the checkbook and deposit slips and a stamp and all
Okay.
that stuff. And then we'll have to go to the bank and get me taken
Okay.
off the debit card and Debbie added.
Do we
Right.
need, Mike, do we need an assistant treasurer?
Are you volunteering
Um,
yourself, Frosty?
No, you.
No,
No,
they-
I'm retiring, Frosty.
the chair typically is the countersigner for all of them. That's
Okay.
what it's been in the past, so that will continue on.
That's
But
right.
yes,
Thanks.
we need to set up some time, Debbie, with both, I think, myself and Heidi to get that put on the books.
Yeah, that's what we
Okay.
did before. I'm actually out of town all next week, but we can look into it after that.
Yeah, and these positions, Miles, I believe, start in January of 2022. Is that correct?
I think that's what your bylaws say. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have a
Um,
few months.
Right. The next one then will be for our BCCI rep. Do we have any nominations for BCCI? I would like to nominate Gary Cook to continue to be our primary BCCI rep.
Second.
I second, yeah.
Okay. Seconded by Frosty and Lisa, so that's a triple approval. Okay.
I'm not sure
Are
quite what that says, okay?
I don't either, but let's not go there. Are there any objections to the motion that Gary Cook should be the BCCI primary rep for the South Beaverton NAC? Okay, if there are no objections, I would like to carry that motion by a show of hands. Those that are in favor, Gary, continuing, please show your hands. Okay, thank you. That is again unanimous.
Thank you.
And the last position we have is a BCCI alternative. Frosty has been our BCCI rep and is now been our alternative rep for some time. Is there anyone else who would like to become a BCCI alternative rep, or if anyone has any nominations? I would
nominate Frosty.
Okay, thank you. I will second that. So I'd like to if there are any objections to the nomination that Frosty Comer should be our BCCI alternative rep for another year, the South Beaverton NAC. Okay, if there are no objections, I would like to carry that forward to a vote. All those in favor of Frosty Comer being our BCCI rep alternative for another year, please raise a hand. Okay, thank you. That again is unanimous.
Mike, one comment I want to make now that we're done, and Gary and Debbie may want to confirm what I'm going to say, but I can't remember. I know I read this, and I don't know if it was brought up on the September BCCI meeting, but I know the mayor has been had put out some discussions about anybody that's been in a position on one of the committees or councils for Beaverton that there should be some term limits. And I know for sure in the BCCI, there's been a number of people that have been there for quite a long time, which I have no problem with. And obviously, as you can tell, Linda, you're the first, well, you're the only non-executive committee member who has joined this committee. The challenge we have, and I agree with her, we need more people to, with the mayor, that we need more people to volunteer. But the challenge is people's personal time available. And so it's been a challenge for us to get people to come to these meetings, to just our NAC meetings. And she included NACs on that too. So we've had people that have served in positions more than the 2 years that she was discussing. And same with the BCCI. I know we've been recruiting, and as most of us, I know Gary, Heidi, myself, and Mike became involved with the NAC meeting, and this is for Lisa and Linda, specifically because of the Cobb property issue. And when an issue like that pops up, and by the way, Lisa, I also remember I was trying to help with the signage for Sterling Point. That was a big issue because I think your signage there is inadequate and not safe for people trying to find the property, which has 5,000 residents in there. It's a huge piece of property, and the city had issues with the signage being too big that they wanted, etc. And we, as a NAC committee, supported Sterling Point, and we took it all the way to the BCCI, which there's been some changes. I don't know what the city's going to do still, but those are some of the things that generate the interest for people to get involved. And it's almost out of a survival piece, which is really too bad, because I think the city of Beaverton is probably one of the most participatory cities that I've ever run into in my 70 plus years. And so I just want to make sure that we realize that that's going to be an emphasis, is recruiting more people, and potentially, I don't think the mayor is going to kick someone out because they're the only person that's available for a position. But I just want to make sure that we're aware of that effort she's putting on, which I don't disagree at all, that we need to recruit more people of all ilks.
Right. Well, thank you.
It did come up for discussion at the September BCCI meeting. And, you know, one of the things that was pointed out was the importance of institutional knowledge for people who have been on a board or commission for a long time. And then also, when your term is up, recruiting people to come to, as a replacement, but also, like we've talked about, the challenge of getting people involved in the NAC. And so I think things like, and I noticed it wasn't on the agenda, but things like a shredding event is an opportunity to do outreach, to do, to inform people. And, we weren't able to do movie in the park as an outreach event. But, and again, it is time. And one of the things that I pointed out in our discussion at BCCI was, as much as everybody hates Zoom meetings, having NAC meetings and even having BCCI meetings, I think affords people more of an opportunity to be involved than, like tonight, I'm sitting here in my living room, it's pouring rain. And so like trekking to Conestoga Rec Center in the pouring rain for a NAC meeting and then home in the dark in the rain, it's like when I can sit here dry in my living room and be part of the NAC. So, as much as there are drawbacks of Zoom meetings, I think it's also opportunities. And so, and again, I think, I don't know how you get more people involved, and I appreciate Frosty, you posting about our NAC meetings. And I know some other NACs post on Nextdoor of, come join the meeting. And I think people just don't have an understanding of the role of NACs in terms of communication with the city. And so but there are people, I know when I joined BCCI, there are people who've been on BCCI for multiple, and I also didn't have an understanding when I went to the recruiting event that they did to find out about the boards and commissions, that it's not just a apply but that there's sometimes specific positions that they're looking for an opening on a board or commission. And so I think people can get discouraged of, oh, I applied and I never heard back, or I applied and I didn't get a spot, and so I'm never going to apply again for a board or commission. When maybe for the particular board or commission I applied for, they were looking for a specific skill set to fill an open position. And it's not just anybody who wants to join any board or commission just has to fill out an application and suddenly you're part of it. Now, with a NAC, anybody who wants to join the NAC that lives in the South Beaverton neighborhood, they're part of the NAC. And so come be part of our meetings. But so it's a little bit different in terms of the level of commitment in terms of applying for a board or commission. Just volunteer to be on a board or commission.
Yeah, actually, so, I appreciate both of you bringing this up, Frosty and Debbie, because I think this is important. Because I think that I would love to see more involvement too, and try to remove the barriers that are there for people. And I think a big one is not understanding what we do and why we're here and how they can make a difference and be part of that. And just briefly on that, actually, whenever we can have an in-person event again, I just had this idea the other day. I want to make a big sign for our tent that says this event was planned by volunteers. Right. I want everyone to understand, you like this, you think this movie night is fun for you and your kids, well, guess what, you can help plan it. There can be more of these if you get involved. This is not just I was thinking about it, that people are just oh, let's go to this thing put on by the city. Well, not exactly. This is done by your neighbors. Your neighbors put effort in to make this happen. So that's for the future, whenever we can have in-person events again. But I did want to ask Miles, can you clarify if that kind of initiative or, this new process that the mayor is putting out there for boards and commissions, does that truly apply to NACs? I don't necessarily think it does. It's kind of different because there's not an application or interview process for NACs.
Yeah, it doesn't apply to NACs. I mean, everybody wants to see more participation on the NACs across the board, and some diversity in the NAC program. But no one's getting kicked out of the NACs. No one's getting kicked out of boards and commissions either. That was a bad way to put it. No.
Because now it's just a point of discussion. It's not an edict that the mayor and the city council has said this is going to happen.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I think as chair of the NAC, one of the things that I've always tried to do, and it happens in business as well, and I know this is a volunteer event and all the things that we've tried to do, there has been reasons for it. But I think that we should be tailoring our replacements. We extended last year, if you remember. My term limit was up last year and we actually voted to extend it. Not necessarily because I never want to go out of this position. It's a case of, well, if we don't have the ability to vote people that have already been serving, you lose that continuity, and all the effort that we put in to try and strengthen the NAC will be lost. And I think it's important that, yes, I'd love someone to take over. I'd love it to be done in a controlled fashion, that we tailor somebody over the next year. And I think the COVID stuff that we had for the last 2 years has definitely prevented that from happening, because we were going to do a whole bunch more. And in person, it's a lot easier to do that than it is when we're doing it remote, because it's just hard to build those relationships. I fully support what the intent is to get more people involved and to get some new blood and new ideas into it. But at the same time, I think we need to do it in a controlled fashion. Otherwise, like some of the other NACs, they can just fizzle out and there's no one there to do it, which means that we then lose the benefit that we've had thus far. So
you're absolutely right, Mike, because there's some NACs that haven't meet quarterly, if at all. So it's a matter of just, I don't know what the demographics are specifically, but some might, have a demographics that it doesn't, may not have the volunteer capabilities and stuff. So who knows? I have a quick question for Linda. How did you hear about this, and why did you decide to join? Because we're glad you're here. And I like your art. I like your artwork and your walls. It's very very nature.
Well, I just bought a house, so on October 8th, I just closed on my house over on Southwest Carriageway, and so I'm new to the neighborhood. I'm new to Beaverton. I'm moving from Northeast Portland, and I want to get involved in a new community. So
you bought your house on my 35th birthday.
Oh, nice! Happy birthday!
Thank you. Congrats on the new house. Welcome to Beaverton.
So what would you like to do? What would you plan on joining us monthly, and would you like to be an alternate to BCCI?
I don't know. I mean, I'm a long time kind of government employee. I've been on a lot of committees. I'm like, actually, I feel like I'm a success because I didn't get volunteered for anything yet today, but I am happy to get involved.
I think Frosty just did.
Yeah, there you go.
If I'd known what you just said, yeah. Because if I have one more ICU visit, you're going to take my place.
Okay. All right.
So
Linda, how did you find out about our meeting?
Oh, I just signed up for a whole bunch of emails.
Through Nextdoor? Uh-oh, you froze.
I knew I'd want to come to the neighborhood association. I've been, somewhat involved here in my neighborhood in Portland, where I've lived for 20 years. Yeah, and I just got on some of the listservs for like the Research Center and whatever, the Arts Commission and things.
Linda, I'd like to thank you for coming, and if Frosty hadn't stolen my thunder, I was going to say, great, now we have a potential new chair. You can we'll trade you up. But no, we do thank you. And at the last, Frosty, if I could just finish this one piece. One of the things we haven't voted on yet is new board members. So if you are interested, you can sign up for tonight to become a board member. I can't remember what the rules are, but that you have to appear several times. You have to be on a regular monthly basis. But if you are interested, that is something that we can instigate at any time to bring you in as a board member.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's like a rolling thing. We can vote
Right.
in new board members anytime. So.
But sorry, Frosty, I didn't mean to steal your thunder. I just wanted to say, yes, we thank you, Linda, for coming in. And if you have any friends that are moving over here, you can also invite them to come in as.
Yeah, it's a good way to, you know, work your way into an officer position and learn about it too. And if you'd like to chat with any one of us, we can, you know, I've been a resident of Beaverton since 1975. We can update you on what all this stuff has been and provide you with some background to help you make your decision.
Thank you.
Gary?
Yes, Gary.
Mike, as I recall, I think there is a requirement to be a board member at the NAC level if you're the BCCI rep for that NAC. And I suspect that would extend to the alternates as well. And I think there were two categories of board members. There were voting members, and then there were, I think, at general board members. But I'm going to throw that out there just because it sticks in the back of my head. Now, I assume that made it through the bylaws change, but I haven't. Let's see. I think city council or legal counsel, I think, bought off on the BCCI bylaw changes, and I don't know where they are on the NAC changes. Miles, maybe you can help us out or help me out a little bit there, because I haven't heard much about it for quite a while.
Yeah, the NAC bylaws don't go to city council. They're just approved by the NAC and then signed off by the city attorney. So they've been signed off on.
No, city legal counsel. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, has the South Beaverton bylaw changes gone to, are they approved?
They are. Yep. They're approved last year, I think.
Okay, because I thought there was a bit of a wait given that
there was, but it's all done.
Okay, right.
Okay. So anyway, thank you for all your comments. Is important, and Linda, we do thank you for joining us, and we hope that you will come back again, and we will then work out. I need, like Gary said, I need to go through the bylaws. I haven't looked at them recently, but I'll have to go through those. We do have a set of bylaws that govern how we operate, so I will do that. But please come again, and at any time you feel you'd like to become a board member, we'll definitely work on that for you. Okay, so let's move on to the next piece, which is Roundtable Forum. One of the things we used to do, Linda, is we used to open and ask people, you know, what are you here for? What would you like to get out of the NAC meeting? You mentioned some of it already. Thank you, Frosty, for inspiring those questions and responses. But if there's anything else, please do feel free to speak about it. We are here to support the community and our neighborhood, and that's our primary focus here. And if you had anything else, please speak now, or we'll catch you next time round. So the roundtable, Lisa, do you want to just talk briefly? We have talked about, I can't remember who you mentioned. It's someone Becker, Miles, that would come in November, which is the art in the NAC. But Lisa, if you give us a quick vision of what you were wanting first, and then maybe Miles can add to that.
Yeah, and I didn't end up taking as much time as I wanted to like really try to reach out to arts groups, but I did try to reach out to the Beaverton Arts Commission. I just haven't heard back yet. So I think, you know, tabling this for the most part till November is probably good, because hopefully I can get a response by then, and maybe even attendance from someone from the Arts Commission. But basically my thought was just, you know, thinking about what kinds of like hyper local things that I think improve, you know, just the quality of life in our neighborhood, and just things that are really focused on our NAC. And I was thinking about what if we could commission some artwork, some outdoor artwork pieces to go on and that would need obviously to go on the city-owned property in the NAC. And so Miles was able to get a map of, showing specifically what property that would be. So a lot of it, I think the best spots honestly are along the trail, through like Heighton Meadows, like neighborhood, that trail that kind of goes in between the houses there. So that's city owned, and I thought that could be a really, just somewhere along that, or maybe in a few spots depending on the cost, I guess. And I mean, this is all like in the brainstorming phase, right? And it's all new to me, so I don't know how much it costs to make a statue or a sculpture. I don't know. So we have to look into that. But yeah, that's just a thought I had, because we have not been able to utilize our funding for basically 2 years now because of the pandemic. So just thinking that this is something we could do that could improve quality of life in our neighborhood, and a way we could use our funds.
So that's something we wanted to talk more about in the November meeting. So if you could get prepared for that, I'll give you a slot where we can talk about it. Maybe you and Miles can get together. Miles, did you want to add anything to that about this?
Yeah. Just that there is a process for commissioning public art in the city, and Laura Becker is the arts manager for the city. She's the staff liaison for the Arts Commission, so she'll be joining us next month to walk us through the process, and she can answer questions like how much does a statue cost, because I don't know either, and what the process entails. So
okay, that'll be great.
That's awesome. Thank you.
So
the city of Portland has a few statues that they have in storage now that they're trying to figure out what to do with. So
yeah, I'm not. I was going for. Honestly, my dad was like, "What kind? Are you starting controversy?" I'm thinking like geometric shapes. I mean, literally, that's what I'm thinking.
Like original art. Okay.
Yes. I mean, I would love if we could have it done by like BIPOC youth artists. That'd be fabulous. I wasn't going for like political statement with this stuff.
Well, the trouble is, in this society that we're living in at the moment, it's really hard. Even if we had something like a square obelisk, it may be in favor this year, but next year the square may not be in, and they want to tear it down. But no, on a serious note, yeah, I think it's a great idea, and it's something that would also, as long as we put on it, this was sponsored and organized by your local South Beaverton NAC, just to get the word out there that we're trying to improve the neighborhood and the community, a way of getting more people in. So the next piece that we had for the December, I'm not sure if anyone here has heard the Kevin Barton, our Beaverton DA. I was fortunate enough to listen to him recently at another meeting. And it was phenomenal, the things he was coming up with and the things he was sharing with us. So he was trying to get on our meeting for November. He's asked if we can be put off to December. So we will be having a December NAC. Sometimes we cancel it, but I think it's earlier in the month. It's the 18th of December. So we will probably have the NAC in December. He will come and speak to us. And then also another thing we've had slated for November is the Beaverton Police Department do a special program to help people in certain areas of life. And again, this was something I went to a presentation. Really, it is really phenomenal what the Beaverton Police are trying to do to help people that are struggling in our community. And I think it will be a great opportunity for us to really understand that our Beaverton Police Department doesn't just arrest people for doing bad things. They also work with a lot of people to try and help people not reoffend, and also get the help they need in the programs that they need. So I'm hoping that they will be here in November. It will be well worth talking about. And again, Frosty, if we can put it through next door, I think will be a real encouragement to get other people to come and listen to some of the great things that are happening in Beaverton.
Yeah, Mike, it's the 16th is the Thursday, 18th is a Saturday.
Okay, for December?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
And the 18th would be November's meeting.
We do usually, so we almost always cancel the December meeting, but you're saying we're gonna stick with it
because it's earlier. Because it's early, it's on the 16th. We're going to look to try and push forward on that one.
Okay, Cool.
I know we have canceled it in the past, but we've lost a couple this year, and we lost several in the summer. So we're going to try and have one just to get ready for the next year. Okay. Anything else in the roundtable that anyone wanted to bring up and discuss?
I wanted to give everyone an update that I continued to follow up with Sterling Point about the flag issue, and I finally got a response of, we are no longer pursuing anything other than things that are offensive, flags that are offensive. So they no longer care about the flying of the American flag at Sterling Point. So yeah, to discuss things becoming overly politicized, there you go. But I'm kind of relieved that that's not going to be a thing, because I felt like that was intense.
Yeah. Okay. If there is nothing else to discuss, I would
Mike,
like to...
are we still considering a shredding event?
Yes, we are. I'm sorry. I'm reaching that really weird age of 65, and I found out how many things the government wants you to do before you get to 65, and I have been snowed in with that. So yes, I am planning to do it, whether we do it for Christmas or in the new year. I am trying to work with the church that's in the middle of our NAC area to sponsor it, in the sense of giving us a place to do it. I just haven't had a chance to get to them yet, but I will continue to try and do that. It's something I really think is important for us to do, and we'll use it to use the food bank as well, so to build the food bank up. But thank you for raising that, and keep me honest. I really am going to try and get this done this month.
Okay, I still want to help with that. So
yeah, no, I will do. I've just been snowed under with all the things that have been going on. So
okay.
So Heidi, only 2 more months for you to tell us how much that we have in our budget.
Our same number that I've been telling you for how long now? The number, as it was last month, is still $7,649.22.
And I probably should ask the question of, why aren't we putting this in a deposit account somewhere where we get some interest? At least it would have been a penny more, or
I was going to say, it's not going to earn a whole heck of a lot these days. And I also want to say thank you to all of you. It's been great serving with you, and
thanks for the great job.
Thank you. I'll still be around. You'll still see me from time to time, but just not as consistently. So.
Okay. Well, you've got until the end of the year before we let you go. So
we'll
hang on to you as long as we can.
You're taking over for Molly?
What's that? Am I taking
over for Molly?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Okay. Again, everyone, thank you very much for coming to the NAC, and thank you for spending the time. And we'll look forward to seeing you all next month. And hopefully we'll be able to start working on some new exciting programs that will draw other people in.
Hey, Mike, I do have a quick question on the church that's on Brockman, and I think it's 135th. They were talking about expanding their school. Have we heard any more about that? Or maybe Miles, that's a question for Miles.
No, I followed up with them a couple of times. They resubmitted different plans, but I haven't seen anything come back out. I think there was some concern about the height of the building. And then they were also concerned about some of the extra traffic. I've been down there multiple times and I can't see how the traffic would affect them, but I'm not able to judge on that.
It's not taller than trees.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard any more. I did follow up with them and they said, yes, they were refiling, but I don't know what the status is. Miles, have you heard anything more? No, okay.
Yeah, the only real challenge is the cul-de-sac across the street, getting in and out on certain times of day.
Right, I think there's like 6 houses in that. So if they're turning right, they have no problem. If they're turning left, okay, they may have to wait 3 or 4 minutes. Yeah. Anyone who's living on Murray has a problem getting out as well. So
I think that I'm signed up for the email notifications. So when something gets filed with the city of a proposed development, that I would get an email and it would show, and you as chair would get something.
Yeah,
as South
I haven't
Beaverton
seen anything.
Chair.
Yeah.
So,
Debbie, just for your information, those development notices aren't sent out until pretty much the
Yeah.
developer has complied with all the requirements. So it's
Right,
a very last minute deal, just like the subdivision next door to your
right.
house. You know, that didn't come out until basically everything was worked out. So those are not I guess my message is, those are not a good early heads up.
Right.
Okay. All right.
And Linda,
Okay.
that's why it's a good reason to be on this committee, to keep track of what the city's up to.
Okay, well, if everyone's, if we are all done, thank you very much again. Have a great rest of the month, and we'll see you all hopefully in November.
Okay.
We all got to
Right.
say
Good night,
goodbye.
everyone.
Safe Halloween to Lisa.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 Okay, there we go.